So, a researcher walks into a lab. He feeds an AI every joke humans have ever typed onto the internet. Puns, satire, dark humor, memes, absurdist one-liners, all of it. Then he asks the AI, explain why this is funny. And the AI does it perfectly. It breaks down the setup, identifies the subverted expectation, traces the logic of the punchline step by step. The researcher is impressed. Then he asks, now tell me an original joke, something no human has ever written before. The AI pauses, and then produces. Why did the computer go to therapy? Because it had too many bites of emotional baggage. Yeah, that's not great. But here's what's wild. That same AI, the one that just laid a complete egg, had already fooled hundreds of real readers into thinking it wrote for The Onion. So which is it? Does AI understand humor, or is it doing something far stranger, and honestly, far more unsettling, than understanding? Because researchers at Cardiff University ran a brutal test on ChatGPT, Gemini, and the rest. They fed them puns, classic ones, fresh ones, twisted ones. The AIs nailed the structure every single time. But when it came to actually getting the joke on brand new material they'd never seen, their success rate crashed to 20%, worse than flipping a coin. Professor Jose Camacho Colados didn't mince words. Their understanding of puns, he said, is just an illusion. So, AI can tell jokes that make us laugh harder than professional comedians, but it still doesn't know why they're funny. Huh? How is that even possible? And to understand why, you need to go back to the very beginning.
Welcome to this video from Null Hypothesis.
Right, so before we can ask whether AI gets humor, we have to ask a harder question. What even is humor? And I know. You're thinking, come on, I know what's funny. I've laughed my whole life. But, have you? Or has laughing just happened to you? Here's the thing. 3 big theories have dominated this debate for centuries, and they're all partially right, which means none of them are completely right. The first is superiority theory. We laugh when we feel better than someone else. A stranger slips on a banana peel, and we laugh. Why? Because we didn't. The second is relief theory, Freud's idea. Jokes are a pressure valve. We build up tension around taboo subjects, and laughter releases it. That's why dark humor works at funerals. It's not disrespect, it's survival. But the third theory, the one that dominates modern science, is called incongruity theory. And it says we laugh when our brain expects one thing and gets something completely different. Think about a pun. Your brain is running down one track, preparing for one meaning, and bam, the word curves. You're suddenly somewhere else entirely. And in that gap between expectation and reality, laughter. Oh, but wait, it gets better. In 2010, 2 researchers at the University of Colorado refined all of this into something called benign violation theory. And honestly, it might be the most elegant idea in humor science. The theory says something is funny when it is simultaneously a violation of norms and benign, safe, not a real threat. Think about tickling. Tickling is a physical attack on your most vulnerable spots. It should terrify you, but it doesn't because you know you're safe. So instead of fight or flight, you laugh. And get this, mice do the exact same thing. Researchers tickle mice on their bellies, their most vulnerable area, and the mice emit ultrasonic, laughter-like vocalizations. Mice and humans diverged on the evolutionary tree around 80 million years ago, and we both laugh when threatened safely. That's not a quirk, that's ancient. So here's what humor actually is. A violation that doesn't kill you. A broken expectation that turns out to be okay. Which raises a deeply uncomfortable question. If that is the recipe, can you teach it to a machine?
Here's where things get genuinely surprising. And I want you to pay attention because what I'm about to tell you will mess with your head.
A social psychology researcher at USC took 50 headlines from The Onion, the famous satirical newspaper, and asked ChatGPT to write more headlines in the same style. Then he showed the results to 200 real readers, asked them to rate the headlines. They couldn't tell the difference. Whoa! The AI-generated Onion headlines were rated just as funny as the human-written ones. Not close, equal. And then there's Joe Toplin, 4-time Emmy-winning comedy writer. He's written for Letterman, for Leno. He's spent years breaking comedy down into repeatable structure. Then he built an AI called WitScript, trained entirely on his methods. In 2025, he ran a live laugh-off. He and the AI each wrote jokes on the same 8 topics. A professional comedian performed both sets completely blind to real audiences in Los Angeles. They measured laughter length and volume. Result? AI jokes got just as much laughter as the human experts. Some of the biggest laughs of the night came straight from the machine. Ugh, yeah, let that land for a second. Oh, and it gets stranger. In a 2025 study from a racially diverse U.S. sample, GPT-4o outperformed humans at generating humor, especially in negative or stressful situations. Self-enhancing humor when life gets hard? AI nailed it more consistently than people did. So here's the picture forming. AI can write jokes. Real jokes, jokes that land, jokes that sometimes land better than human ones. And yet, hold on, there's a difference, a critical, enormous difference between generating humor and understanding it. And that gap, that's where everything gets strange.
Now, let's go back to that Cardiff University study. The researchers didn't just find that AI failed on weird or obscure puns. They found something much more unsettling. The models got overconfident. They'd look at total nonsense that merely sounded like a pun structure, sentences that made zero logical sense, and insist they were hilarious. Swap one single word in a real pun, accuracy tanked. They weren't processing meaning, they were pattern matching the shape. The paper was literally titled Pun Unintended, LLMs and the Illusion of Humor Understanding. The illusion of humor understanding. Let that sit for a second. And then there's the New Yorker Caption Contest study. Researchers at the Allen Institute took over 700 weeks of caption contest data, 14 years, and tested multiple AI models on it. Human accuracy at pairing the right caption to a cartoon? 94%. The best AI? 62%. That's not close. That's not even in the same building. And when they asked AI to explain why a caption was funny, it fell short again. Even GPT-4. Humans beat AI 2-to-1 on explanations. So, here's the picture. AI can reproduce the shape of humor. It can generate the structure of a joke, sometimes brilliantly. But when you press it on the meaning, on why something is funny in this context for these people right now, it starts to crack. And the reason why is something AI fundamentally does not have.
Humor is weird in a very specific way. The exact same sentence can be hilarious in one moment and devastating in the next. Sarcasm is basically a nightmare for AI, because sarcasm means the opposite of what it says. And to know that, you have to know the speaker, their relationship with the listener, the history, the tone, the power dynamic in the room. One of the researchers' favorite examples, imagine someone gets a reminder about a medical appointment and replies, "Ugh, kill me now." A human instantly reads this: hyperbole, frustration, dark humor. An AI has to be explicitly trained not to take that literally. And that's just one sentence in one culture on one platform. What's funny in one country can be completely baffling or outright offensive in another. Humor is soaked in shared reference. It relies on knowing what everyone in the room already knows. The unspoken rules, the common experiences, the specific pain. British dry humor, Japanese manzai comedy, American observational humor.
These aren't just styles, they're entire worldviews compressed into a way of laughing. But here's the thing that strikes me as the most fundamental gap of all. AI doesn't have a body. Think about physical comedy, a perfectly timed stumble, a face someone makes, slackstick, the humor of embarrassment because you've been embarrassed, your cheeks have gone red, your stomach has dropped. AI has never been embarrassed. It has never had a bad haircut, stubbed its toe, or had someone walk in at exactly the wrong moment. It has never felt the rush of relief when something catastrophic almost happened. And here's what really unsettled researchers. When they asked AI to make images funnier, it didn't lean into wit, it didn't go for clever subversion. It started over-representing people based on weight, age, and disability. It reached for the oldest, crudest form of superiority humor, the kind Aristotle described 2,000 years ago, laughing at someone less fortunate. Because that pattern, mockery, otherness, power, is everywhere in human comedy history, and AI learned from all of it. Yikes.
Okay, here's the thing I want you to sit with. Imagine you grew up outside a foreign country. You never lived there, never felt its seasons, tasted its food, had its arguments, sat at its tables. But you read everything ever written about that place. Every travel diary, every guidebook, every personal letter, every newspaper from the last 100 years. You would know a lot about that country. You might even write convincingly about what it's like to live there. But you would not know it, not really. That is what AI has with humor. It has consumed every joke ever written down, every comedy script, every Reddit thread where people analyze why something is funny, every academic paper on incongruity theory, every Simpsons episode, every roast, every funeral speech that somehow made everyone laugh. It has mapped the territory. And a map can be incredibly useful. A map can fool you into thinking the map maker has visited the place, but the map is not the territory. Here's the core revelation, the thing researchers keep circling back to. When AI tells you a joke, it isn't expressing wit, it's being a mirror. It's reflecting our own collective sense of humor back at us. Every laugh it generates is built from the pattern of every laugh that came before it. When you laugh at an AI's joke, you're not laughing at the machine's intelligence, you're laughing at yourself. AI decoded the messy, chaotic labyrinth of human experience and found a shortcut to your funny bone. It learned us, not humor. Us. And that is both more impressive and more hollow than it sounds. Because humor, real, alive, human humor, is rooted in something AI cannot access. The experience of being alive. Of having things matter to you, of having expectations that feel real, rules that feel real, violations that carry actual weight. When you laugh at something, really laugh, that involuntary, helpless kind, it's not a pattern match, it's your whole history firing at once, your personality, your fears, your group memberships, your mourning so far. AI can see the structure, it can generate the structure, but it doesn't feel the shape of the world the structure is violating. And that is why the joke still lands a little flat. Here's the uncomfortable part. Right now, AI is being deployed as therapists, as companions, as grief counselors, as social assistants for lonely people. And humor is not just entertainment. It is one of the most critical social functions humans have. Humor signals safety. It builds trust. It diffuses tension. It says, I see you. I know what you've been through. And it's okay to laugh about it. A misfire in humor can destroy a relationship. Say the wrong joke at the wrong moment, and it signals, I don't actually understand you. I'm not really here. If an AI miscalculates that, if it treats a sarcastic kill me now literally, if it reaches for disability jokes because that's what the data says makes things funnier, that's not a punchline problem, that's a trust problem. And here's the deeper discomfort. If humor can be reduced to a set of weights and biases, if a machine can be funnier than your best friend in a controlled test,
then what does that say about our so-called unique human spark? If our laughter can be engineered, are we as complex as we think? Or are we just predictable biological machines reacting to the right linguistic stimuli? Whew. We used to think art, music, and humor were our safe havens from the mechanical age. It turns out those might be some of the easiest things for machines to simulate, because they're built on patterns, and machines never miss a pattern. That gap between simulating humor and understanding it isn't a technical bug waiting to be patched. It is a map versus territory problem, and some roads on that map lead straight off a cliff.
So, can AI understand humor? Here's my answer. It understands the skeleton of humor, the architecture, the bones. But humor, the real stuff, lives in the flesh, in the shared experience, in the specific moment between specific people with a specific history. That is, for now, still ours. Which means something kind of beautiful. Every time you laugh at something, really laugh, that involuntary, helpless, breathless kind, you're doing something no system on earth can fully replicate. You're being undeniably, irreducibly human. And maybe that's worth holding on to. If this video made you think, or made you laugh, I hope, hit that subscribe button. There's a whole lot more where this came from. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I genuinely want to know, do you think AI will ever truly get the joke? And if you found this worth your time, share it with someone who'd argue about it. See you in the next one.
Thank you for watching. To view similar videos in future, do not forget to subscribe.